Good morning. Welcome everyone to our inaugural KCF book club session. It's a pleasure to see so many of us joining today on what promises to be an enriching journey through the world of books. As we embark on this new initiative by KCF together, I want to extend a warm welcome to both our returning members who were part of our earlier physical book club and those who are joining us for the first time. In a world where screens often dominate our attention, it's truly inspiring to see so many individuals coming together virtually to celebrate the written word. Through this club, we aim not only to explore the pages of diverse books, but also to foster a sense of community and connection among fellow book lovers in our KCF community. The first book that we've chosen for our inaugural session is Lilliput Land, How Small is Driving India's Mega Consumption Story, written by Rama Bijapurkar. Just to give you a bit of the context of the book, one of the largest consumer markets of the world, India is made up of lots and lots of small consumers, each earning and spending just a little bit that adds up to a lot. It is served by millions of small suppliers oozing innovation and customer intimacy, and is powered by digital infrastructure that does billions of unique and small transactions every day. In her new book, Rama Bijapurkar dismisses the easy and simplistic view of the Indian demographic and embraces all the complexity and opportunities that New India has to offer. So, with this brief introduction on the book, and without further ado, I will now request our KCF committee member Manish Kenia to introduce CA Rajesh Chheda, who will be presenting the summary on the book and the thoughts of his first book. Thank you. Over to you, Mr.
Thank you, Karan. Good morning to all. Our today's speaker is Kachchi Goan, hailing from village Kundrodi in Kutch. He is a chartered accountant and a certified financial planner by qualification and evolved into a health risk assessor and guide by profession. From the Sensex touching the 1,000 mark till its current 75,000 level, he has been in the field of financial services. He has been a life member of prestigious $1 Million Roundtable in USA. He loves academia, having been a visiting professor at the Goa University and the Goa Institute of Management Studies. Many families have had an intergenerational relationship over 2 to 3 decades working with him and his team. He stood first in Goa in HSC exams in the commerce stream in March 1984. He is having very disciplined home minister, Miss Regina, and multi-talented son Joshua, who is into VFX and contributed to many Bollywood and Hollywood films and advertisements. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CA Rajesh Chheda.
Thank you, Manish Bhai, and for such a warm introduction. And it's a privilege for me, thanks to Mukesh Bhai's initiative, and I've become a member of the Kutch Corporate Forum. So as we start today, I may just share the screen. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the book is Lilliput Land, and what I understand, first of all, the author, Rama Bijapurkar, I looked her up, and it's very interesting that she has a physics background and IIM Ahmedabad management, this thing from the 75 to 77 batch. She's on board of quite a lot of blue chip companies, and the topic, the book that she has chosen, it's not easy because delving into the minds of the consumer is one thing. Previously, she has written about 4 other books. 2007, there was a book, everything related to India. We are like that only. Then in 2008, it was winning in the Indian market. 2012, it was the customer in the boardroom. 2013, a never before world. And after almost a spate of a decade, she comes up with a book, Lilliput Land. So probably it is the last 10 years that she has summarized and said that how small is driving India's mega consumption story. The topic, the title Lilliput Land, it goes back to the Gulliver's Travel, where the essence says that a large army of small people who together can be giant slayers. So this was the essence of penning this book and the title. And it is this small consumers as well as the suppliers who say that in the future, that we are the future of the world, and that is the digital transformation. Now, rather than, let's have the icing on the cake in the form of a 1-minute clip, which is the essence which speaks all. So I would just like to play that.
Today, when you see sachets hanging from shop fronts of every conceivable product, you will think they were invented by some huge multinational. It was in fact invented by an unassuming son of a farmer called Chinni Krishna. More about him later. Do you know roughly 70% of the Indian population earn less than 150 rupees a day? But most companies in the Indian market don't focus on them. They instead focus on the top 5%. Our Chinni Krishnan from Kudalur, Tamil Nadu, had a small pharmaceutical repackaging business where he would repack talcum powder, salts, etc. into smaller packs. He would also think often that he would pack liquids like this and saw the gap in the market. His dream actually was that even the coolies and the rickshaw pullers should use all the products that a rich man does. In 1978, he modified a PVC folder sealing machine and would seal plastic sheets together to make transparent packets, and that was the humble beginning of this sachet. Unfortunately, he did not live long enough to see the revolution he would cause. In 1979, his younger son carried his legacy forward. C.K. Ranganathan, the CMD of Kevin Care, now a big company with a turnover of about 1,700 crores in 21, he launched Chick shampoo at 1 rupee a sachet. Chick, the brand name derived from his father's initial, Chinni Krishna. Marketing lessons? Innovation is not always the prerogative of the multinational and those with financial muscle. 2, spotting a market gap or opportunity does not always require market research. A keen sense of observation does the job. As your tribute to the Indian who gave the world sachets, please share it with your friends.
So it's like, the dessert is served first. So the whole book, the concept lies on that. So how an Indian can create, from the small sachets, a 1,700 crore turnover company. So this is how she talks about. Now, some of them, like in the book, the title, okay, how small is driving India's consumption story. Basically, what she says, it's dedicated to, I'm just reading it, dedicated to India's small consumers, small suppliers, and small transaction digital warriors who have together built and will continue to build the world's most watched and least understood mega consumer markets. The important sentence she says is, let's stop waiting for the coming of the age of India's consumer markets. This happened a while ago. Now, also with this, the questions that arise and the question she attempts to answer is, how big is India's middle class? Will India be a big market for air conditioners? Is there a potential for packaged foods in India? And why are the multinationals finding it so difficult to crack the code? That's what she's attempting to answer in the book. Now, one of the examples recently I came across was about a person at the Delhi airport. There was traffic. She stopped on the way. The vehicle had stopped and she saw 2 sellers opposite each other. One was the coconut seller and one was the fruit seller. People were in the hot summer probably having the coconut water and queuing up in front of the QR code, and almost everyone paid by the UPI transaction. So here there are three things which have come into being. One is the financialization. That means every person who has this QR code, the vendor has a bank account, and this happened because of the mobile, the internet, the digitization, the mobile penetration in the digital India, and which was probably 9 years back was 15%, and now today it is over 48%. And the third was the airport traffic itself that keeps on swelling, though we are in the receiving end. So this is what she talks of. And probably India had 2-3 versions. Earlier, it was the Wary India, WARY, where exciting policies and positions were abandoned. Then came the self-doubting India, where decisions were taken based on global opinion. And now there is a more confident India, where the world comes for leadership and inspiration. So this is what she talks of. And India today is the world's fifth largest economy, heading higher. But how exactly this economy has happened? Now, what the chapter she begins with by saying that God is in the details. Now, when she says God is in the details, it is basically one concept is that the middle class, when we say it is the power class, and earlier it is, let me put it this way, it's a very tough nut to crack. How are you going to dissect and bisect on what basis rural, urban, rich, poor, how exactly we are going to do it? So she makes that attempt. And what she says is that usually the multinationals, because she worked with McKinsey, and probably in her early years when she said that, look, India is to be treated like a different country, different place, they didn't take her positively. They said, no, so the rules apply to all the third world countries, on some basis. And they said that India is not there yet, but the potential is there. What they meant is that the yardstick that was used was the, top 10%, top 20%. Now, India's richest top 20% by the Western standards might be just above the poverty line, in the American standards. So probably when the multinationals have come and they want to earn money, make profits, they would look at that top 10, top 20% of the pyramid. But what happened was that even if, say, out of 140 crores, if 20% of, 300 million customers are the customers for, say, a BMW, the BMW feels that India is the world's third largest market for the cars, because the population is that much of Mexico. And it doesn't mean it's the third richest country. So the concentration has been on the top 20%. Probably the data and all that is available is good for them. So therefore, the others have been ignored. Now here, the change that has happened is today's generation, they would like to stretch for more rather than settle for less. And Sasta Sundar Tikau versus seeing the value in the quality of the goods they purchase. For example, it's not simply the cheapest phone, but now they find a utility in a smartphone. So this is how she has gone about it. Now, from the book, one interesting thing that has evolved. See, earlier I used to probably read some of these magazines, Economist, Financial Times of London, and Wall Street Journal. All of them somehow had a negative bias towards India. So here she mentions that even the historical unfriendly Western media have thought their frosty disapproval and fully acknowledged, albeit grudgingly, that India's recent achievements. So whether it is the G20 presidency, the impressive landing on the moon, the cost of which was probably less than that of a Hollywood film made, and the digital system, and that has been done. Now, basically, another question that is asked is, why is India's consumer market, they get a undeservedly bad name? So I already mentioned earlier about, saying that India has the, what we call potential, shows the promise, but not there yet. Now, this not there yet verdict, see, what has happened is the global consultants have certain milestones and metrics, which again I mentioned, and that the singular pattern of development that all the markets in the world would follow. So India has defied this theory and evolved and developed its own way. And that's how we spoke of the clip that we saw of the 1 rupee sachet. How exactly? Because a person who's a small daily earner of 150 rupees also has aspirations, and that's how the things were met, rather than selling a big shampoo bottle and in the sachets. The other thing is, India's in this God is in the detail chapter, basically what they are telling is how the costs have dropped. Okay, because of the technology, the data, India has the largest number of internet users in the world and the largest number of digital payment transactions in the world. This new digital first way of working has had many spin-off effects, ranging from distinctly reduced corruption in all spheres to enabling easy access to the government. See, one example that comes to me is like the fast tag. Okay, immediately the money is collected, rather than the toll collectors collect it and then give it to the government. Straight away it goes in the government account. GST also is another example. And one example in this God is in the detail chapter, she says that basically, now this is a little, that's why I said it's a difficult book to crack, because India has two versions of the same statement. So we talk of, say, India's age demographics are great, but education and education for employability are really poor. Here she says, demographic dividend. We talk so much about, the India's young population. The other side of the narrative is demographic disaster. What they say is, in this detail, one half of the young India is able to seize opportunities of entrepreneurship, go global in many countries, East and West, and benefit from new sectors and new job opportunities, like becoming influencers, video jockeys, vets, and coders. They are also able to access information, guidance, and connections from well-off, well-educated India and climb the ladder to better life. At the same time, there is the other half who typically come from poor rural homes, have very poorly educated parents. They have low risk-taking ability, a mediocre education, and no knowledge about upskilling opportunities. This is what was originally labeled in India as India 1, India 2, and India 3 by the retailer Kishore Biani. India 1 is the India that has arrived. It is well educated, has a profession or a business that makes them good money, is a favorite with the formal financial system for credit, and has benefited the most from market capitalism. India India 2 is the India that is connected to them or has made connections to them and benefited in the various ways. While India 3 is the India that is left on its own, slowly trying to climb out of the well it is in without having any ropes of support thrown to them. Now, in this, again, one point also is mentioned is during the COVID-19 times, where India excelled itself in providing the vaccines. That also can be taken from the value point of view, how the whole exercise was done. There is another challenge, like when we talk of education, there's another challenge is income and occupation. They are the two key elements of any consumption story. And here also, unfortunately, she says that, the data on the occupation is not that much available, or it's a bit of a challenge. Okay, so she says here that when told that even the richest 10% of the Indian households earn just 21.6 lakhs per annum in 2021, how this detail of this number is derived follow later, but it doesn't sound right, because when it is converted to US dollars, this figure is at odds with the large sales number of premium products that we see. However, the 10% of India adds up to a population that is the size of the Mexico, what I mentioned about the BMW example. One sentence which I liked in this book here in this chapter, it was, let us go to the next one. What we call the framework for understanding the drivers and shapers of the India's consumption. So here she says, the hero of the story is consumer behavior. The villain is the structure of the consumer base, and the supply side lags behind the consumer and has to catch up. She talks of, monster consumers. If the consumer finds value, then there's a tremendous demand, and supply has a challenge in trying to cope up with the demand. Now here, in the same slide, the second part, what she says is that the consumer India structural characteristics are a mix of good and bad. Being the most populous nation on earth and hugely diverse, many versions of India coexist. So here she talks of, how four blind men in a room, and there is a imaginary elephant, and each blind person feels one part of that body, the trunk or the legs, and has a different version. So here she says that overwhelmingly young, but nowhere near as rich as we imagined the world's fifth largest economy to be, low on formal education, high on digital ability, mostly informally employed and low skilled. These are all important catchwords because, when the companies try to understand the psyche of the consumers, what they want, how they have gone about that change, where earlier they would say that, no, taking a loan is very bad. Today they say no problem, we will take a loan, and there are enough of loan givers. You click on the Amazon website and you pick up a particular product, and when you're checking out, it asks you, do you want to pay by EMI? So this is one part that has happened. Now, in this, what she says about the aspiration part of it, she says all Indian households are aspirers, aspiring for the next rung of the ladder of better living, to give their children an education that will give them escape velocity to a better life. Okay, so this is what she talks about. Now, there are a lot of, it's like, it is often said that the upper affluence class in India is not as rich as we think they are. And she also adds that the lower affluence class is not as poor as we think they are. So, this is a catch-22 situation in this book, and how some of the manufacturers, marketeers who have understood it have made tons of money. Some of them who've failed to understand, especially the MNCs and all, some of them have left, because probably they didn't understand the market. They didn't have that good an experience. So probably the fault lay in them adapting to the Indian situation. Now, very interesting. There is one slide. I'll just forward it a bit. Yeah. Now, here there are plenty of such graphs and data that she shows, but I've just chosen one of them rather than, taking up quite a lot in this. It's a question of, say, air conditioner, cars, microwave, laptop, washing machine, refrigerator, two-wheeler, mixer, grinder, inverter, and all. So if you see the top 2.5% probably have it all. But if you take it for, say, about three of, say, top 10, 20%, then here you will see many of them have quite a few of the items. Probably if you compare, say, a four-wheeler, a car, maybe only in the top two segments majority. But a two-wheeler has gone way beyond, up to even the last of the 30-40%. There's 46%, 46 not percent. They are owning 46% in that net, 15% HHC1. So she says A, B, and C. So in that category, it can go to. But it is very interesting that another challenge is again where you get such data. Sometimes there are these challenges in getting the correct type of data. Somewhere she mentions that it is very difficult to compare or fixate on middle class. So at the most, she says, let's decide those are the middle class who are the movers and shakers and who have that aspirations and can, be big providers. Okay, now on this. So the essence of the previous chapter is that India's consumption future lies in building a genuine middle class. Okay, so this is one area where probably our KCF members, entrepreneurs, they already have that idea, but probably you can delve on that this is something that one can look at. Now, the essence of the making sense of this structure story, what I already mentioned, but here for the ease of it and the summary part, is to understand the opportunity more fully, what's and all, pain and gain. It is the large consumer base of the modestly educated people, but digitally smart, a huge mass market straddling urban and rural India, the vast geographic spread even of the rich, the occupation and education demographics, and even of the rich and consumption levels apparently quite divorced from human development levels. So is there a mega opportunity? It's a large market of a lot of people with modest incomes earning a little bit each, which adds up to a lot. However, relative to the rest of the development world, even the richest 10% of the Indian households are poor, in fact, just around the poverty line of America. So this is what she says, making sense of the structure story. Now, the next part of it is understanding the consumer behavior. And now here, when we say understanding the consumer behavior, let's talk of the previous when she says, see, nowadays people use, say, if you buy some product, they depend on what is the PIN code. But it has been found, say, for example, it's not that the poor live in the rural areas and the rich live in the urban areas. No. So that she says is quite different. She says even there are the top 10, 20% of the rich people, probably half of them live in the rural areas. So when purchases are made, some of the marketeers get quite surprised that in certain segments, certain PIN codes, how come some people are there who buy costly items? So that is one part. So what she says in the book is that probably a little bit more research has to be done. It should not be just automatically driven by the PIN codes. Probably they need to start interacting more with the buyers, understand their needs, and probably the marketeers then can have a little better in-depth understanding of it all. The changing Indian consumer is a favorite conference topic. Given the structure story of many Indians, all these anecdotes and observations of how different parts of the elephant behave need to be distilled into a holistic view of the nature of the beast. Okay, so here it looks at the behavior. So again, as I mentioned about aspiration, dignity, that even that every Indian family probably today they will compromise. Earlier, probably it was not much on education, but today most of the times we notice is that they would like to send their children to the best of the schools, maybe a private school, or international school. Even if they can't afford it, there is a the kind of a loan availability. And a lot of Indians have started looking at the aspiration that if tomorrow we will have a better day, tomorrow is better than today. So based on that, also the decisions are being taken. Brand orientation, phenomenon of monster consumers, how to understand and navigate the heterogeneity of the markets for strategy development, and how to read changes in the confusing way in which consumer India changes. So here, now this part of it, when we say demand leads, supply lags, consumer India is still underserved and supply lags behind demand. So here she says, while there has been a tsunami of new supply in the past 3 decades, most of it is small scale supply or opportunistic imports. The good news is that there are enough avenues for value addition and the market is still wide open. Consumer is saying, ye dil mange more, that is my heart asks for more real brands, more customer centricity in addressing my needs. However, the mass markets do not wait and are seeing new improved action from small physical and e-commerce supply and new digital business models, though not at large scale. It is truly the land of Lilliput where the markets are collectively capturing and powering large parts of the market. Now here, one thing is there. Once again, it is, at the cost of repetition, but it's a very important point is we are a consumption-driven economy, but are we consumer-oriented? That is what the essence comes out of this chapter. And consumer India has the largest, youngest, most consumption-desiring population in the world, has not yet attracted the commensurate investment and focus that it should have. This is what she's asking. Like if everywhere, even if you go next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the demographic advantage that India shows, there is no competitor next to India that can, catch up with it. And it says India has missed a widespread large mall and physical retail chains revolution as it has leapfrogged into the digital world and embraced the e-commerce. Now here, another somewhere in the book she talks of say for example, recent entry of IKEA. They have huge mega malls. She did suggest that instead of having one big mega mall in today's with the digitalization that has taken place, maybe they can have a smaller shop and not apply what the Indian consumer might take it and make it yourself, do it yourself kind of a thing. So now I think it has started having little smaller shops and where, through online, they can have a team of people come to your home and assemble it for you. So this is how she speaks of the things. I'll come to that in the next chapter she talks of. Okay, here, that is here. So now passage through India, the multinational journey and the lessons learned. Okay, now here what has happened is, it is required, the Indian markets require the multinationals to design made for India businesses that may be quite different from what they have in the rest of the developed world. They have resisted doing this for many reasons, including mindset, governance, faulty dominant logic, and perceived risk. As a result, most MNCs have struggled in India. MNCs should leverage their global competences and knowledge and design made for India businesses. This is what I like the sentence. Keep the religion, change the ritual. That's how, from her way, this is how it should have been done. Now, in the graph, there is Hyundai, there is Netflix, there is Whirlpool, there is Disney, there is Amazon. So if it is Amazon, it has been successful because it has managed to get the Indian marketplace on its portal. So what can happen is you have a choice. Say somewhere, say for example, 3M. Indians would not like a $40 mop, but on the Amazon, if you want something where the Indian housewife can, or the person can change the mop part of it, or a handle, or get a bucket, get all this. So all this combination at the economical pricing, it does make a difference. Now, in the case of Hyundai, when Maruti, she mentions that when Maruti 800 came, and now we talk of the aspirational value. Hyundai thought initially not to introduce the Ascent they were going to introduce with, but they'll come up with a Santro, so that it competes, but a little upgradation kind of a thing. Because here she talks of, like say, the question of nano, and today's Indians, it's a little odd that people were buying cheaper, the rich were buying cheaper two-wheelers, and the middle class who were aspiring were going in for a two-wheeler, but of a better quality. And then it was understood that a person who has a car, but for functionality, might buy an economical two-wheeler. And a person who has only a two-wheeler might have an aspiration value for a better two-wheeler. So this is one thing. Then you talk of, say, Netflix. Now, Netflix, I do remember they have slashed their prices also. So to come to India, and probably now on Netflix, we can watch a Tamil movie or a Gujarati movie, or like a lot of Indian films on this portal. And these are some examples. The other part now here in the MNC, I'm quoting in this book, she says, Jim O'Neill of Goldman Sachs, debuting the BRICS report, said, in future, the world's largest economies would not be the world's richest economies, which is the most fundamental reason why transplanting global business models will not work. The reasons for the global multinationals in India, in the new market, the benefit of a global hub. Now see, what the MNCs look at, he says, is that probably they're looking at a global hub for back office work to increase the efficiency. That's how India has been the back office for a lot of countries, for a lot of companies, multinationals, and they decrease cost and benefit of having access to a high talent pool to export to the other parts of the world. That we must have seen. Now see, we have quite a lot of Indians doing very well in the Fortune 500 companies. Very high percentage of them have risen to the CEO level also. And the other side of it, there are exits. She talks of Holcim, Ford, Ken, and Metro. Now, Whirlpool versus LG, she says, see, LG, the Korean companies caught the Indian sentiments very well, the Asian countries. So LG introduced a frost-free, small size, cost and viability with modern technology. That's what the consumer liked, and it was a hit. They said, why to go in for a big refrigerator? Even a small one is having that modern technology. It is okay. Now, Maruti Suzuki versus Mercedes-Benz. Initially, when Mercedes-Benz introduced the models for Indian consumers, they introduced older models of theirs, now which probably the rich class could get that information. So they were not very happy with it, that they got, a little lower model. And then we talk of 3M, which I spoke of that, which is the god of innovation, 3M is called, but somehow from the Indian point of view, there have been challenges. Okay, she talks of Nestle. Now, Nestle has an India-centric portfolio, no? They have Maggie, and I do remember, see, when Kellogg's was launched, Kellogg's said that, we will teach the Indian consumers how to have breakfast. But little did they realize that, it was a tough going. And I believe Kellogg's also has now introduced a Kellogg's Upma. So, that is where the learning takes place. Pepsi has their Kurkure and Nimbus. And the other companies are Honeywell, Siemens, Coca-Cola. They talk of Indigo, like how they managed to introduce snacks. With the hot water, you have your upma and the likes. Then there is the instant food kind of a thing. Then there is this Walmart story, Amazon, IKEA, and the new economy multinationals are like Google, WhatsApp, YouTube, and Facebook. They have been embraced by consumer India. Okay. Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, that also have adapted and they're looking at it. And the best few examples she gives, they are of the, Kevin Care, Arvind Eye Hospital, Micro Digital Gold, Micro Accident, how that they had the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Suraksha Bima Yojana, like, for 20 rupees, you have a 20 lakhs accident cover. That the people kind of a thing lapped it up. So with this in mind, I probably try to rush through the things, but I thought that, I'll compact it. Of course, as a deep dive, if any of you would like, most welcome to connect with me. I have the book, so I will probably pass it on to Mukesh Bhai, and if something we have the library, then it can be made use of. And I would like to end and thank you so much for your kind patience. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rajesh Bhai, for that lovely insights into the book. And I must say that what you've done is a fantastic job of encapsulating the entire book in a very short period of time. Obviously, it inspires us to read the book, but at the same time, we already know what this gist of this book is. So that's very commendable work on that front, Rajesh Bhai. Thank you so much for that. I'll begin with some questions that have been coming in, and some other thought processes also. I think first question I would like to ask is around the innovation, which I think it was there in the video. And frankly, I've been privileged myself to work with CKR on a private equity deal. When I got Chris Capital to invest in this company, and it was an absolute pleasure working with him. And the innovation that they did on the packaging side with Chick shampoo and Velvet, and thereafter so many things. So Kevin Kerr is an innovation powerhouse, and every product he has a specific word which he uses is called SIGWIN. So basically it means significant winnings, right? So what is the significant winning of that particular product, which will make it much more acceptable to the consumers. So I think it boils down to innovation, and I am borrowing the statement which was made in one of the earlier slides that you had mentioned, is that innovation is not the prerogative of the multinational. And I just wanted to invoke a discussion over here, and this is so important, because I think we have some fantastic companies and fantastic products out here in India. And frankly, when you really look at it, most of the products that we use, right, be it a mobile phone, or be it a laptop, or be it even from shampoo to soap, it's all, for example, Hindustan Unilever or multinationals using it. The cars that we drive, obviously now we have Indian companies over there, but I think it boils down ultimately to innovation that some of these companies have been able to do. Just a thought process around how do we kind of increase the sense of innovation in the minds of Indians. Now, obviously, we are seeing a plethora of new startups coming in, and what I can see as an investment banker is that these are beautiful businesses, fantastic businesses, but they are very business innovation related. More disruptive. How do you create more? But when you come to talk about product and product innovation, there are quite a few companies in India who do it. But how do we, as in India, increase the threshold of innovations over here? And I think that is where I think India will kind of catapult to a very different level of growth. So any thoughts around this, Rajesh bhai? You've been reading a lot of books, including this book. So any specific thoughts around that?
See, okay, in innovation, what I look at it is, yes, the Indian mindset. There's another word that I read some other place, the jugaad we call it, somewhere they have adapted. So here, let me put it this way. When we talk of, say, let's look at the USA example of Apple. Apple never invented the computer or the music system or the phone, but what it did was that enhancement level. So in the Indian context, we are catching up very fast. It was already there. Some things were already there. But what I know is that, like, say, for at the moment in India, we are assembling the iPhones. But the next step that is going is the backward integration, where the manufacturing part will come in. And the what you call startups and all which are coming in, even like in yesterday's program of Car Dekho, which Mr. Amit Jain spoke of. It is wonderful. See how the things have happened. It is out of personal experience. And now we are getting an opportunity, whether it is technology, whether it is the whole environment that is happening. So I feel from that innovation, I mean, not be, I mean, what I also wanted to say is that so many members of our KCF will have their own ideas. So rather than Q&A, I thought let's make it as a anybody else can volunteer to give and share their views also, we will learn.
Jay, have you enabled everybody to unmute and speak?
No, sir. I will just ask everyone to just raise their hand. Anyone want to speak, just they can raise their hand. We can just give them the access.
Yeah, I think that will be better. But Bhavesh and Rajesh, I just want to add one thing here about the Indian mentality, or rather the Indian company's mentality. In India, we always see it's a waste of money if you are, say, meeting for a book review, or you are attending a study circle, or maybe a company is investing heavily into research and development. And that's what now in coming years, India is going to suffer heavily. Once upon a time, India was a powerhouse as far as IT sector is concerned, because majority software of the world were made by Indian companies. But with that, we were happy, or rather the Indian companies were happy providing just services and not the products. If you see in the market, there are hardly any products by Indian IT companies. And they were not doing anything about AI, artificial intelligence, no R&D, or maybe doing at a very minuscule scale. In that race, now China has overtaken even US, because world over, whatever patents have been filed for artificial intelligence, 80% of the patents are being filed by China and 20% by rest of the world. I don't know what percentage India will come into it. So India, if at all we want to go ahead, and there are quite a few good members in KCF, they have been fantastic company and a fantastic business model. But if we are lagging behind in research and development activities and coming out with new and innovative products where there are gaps in the market, it's difficult.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's ironical that most of the innovation which happens in some of these large countries, Indians are a big part of that teams. So it's all coming from India, but coming in the foreign grounds and then coming back to India to get, it's an amazing what the foreigners have been able to do, and we have to figure out as
Yeah,
Indians.
because they are sticking to the legality, they follow the rules of the land.
Yeah,
Here we are more concerned about earning, yes, but how much cash we can earn so that we have to pay less taxes to the government. Now I fail to understand. Suppose Bhavesh, if you uh, want to use a good pen, maybe a Mobla or whatever brand, which is costing say around 50-60,000 rupees, then what people say, अरे यार 50,000 का पेन लेना है तो थोड़ा कैश चाहिए ना. Why you want cash? You can buy in check also. Show it as your stationary expenses in your company, and that will be allowed. Income tax guys are not going to ask you okay, why you want a 50,000 rupees pen when a 5 rupee pen can also written or used. So whatever luxuries you want to enjoy, you can enjoy, but don't compromise on the legality. Otherwise, it will be difficult to grow.
sure, cool. So going back to consumer, I think clearly innovation is one of the major factors that can woo consumers towards your end. We have a question on board over here. I think Dr. Asked by Dr. Samir Karkhanes is, any insights around the digital first economy, which is the D2C brands? Any thoughts around that? What's your view around that? And Rajesh bhai, we can start with you.
Bhavesh, if you can just elaborate again on that question, digital first.
Yeah. So I think what we are seeing is a new trend. And that was which was alluded in one of your as you were going through the review, that India has effectively skipped a lot of layers of marketing and
Yeah,
came straight into e-commerce.
correct.
So from a small store going into mid-size and big stores, I mean, we came somewhat there, but we've necessarily not followed an IKEA kind of a model, and instead we catapulted uh, significantly into the e-commerce space, we now have digital
Yeah,
mall, so to
yes,
say,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, but that is one digital mall. But specifically, there have been brands which have specifically started not by distributing this on a physical basis. Some of the brands will not be available in your local Kirana store. Some of the brands will not be available in the modern trade, but they've started off like examples like Mama Earth. There's so many of them, right? Who have started purely from a digital standpoint, using digital as a distribution. So they use channels like Amazon, they use channels like Mintra, for example, for fashion, and they use Instagram, Facebook for marketing,
Yes, yes.
and then they onboard customers, and there's nothing
Now,
available on
now,
shelves, but you can buy directly. So
now
any thoughts around that?
Now that is very interesting. It's just that, in the book also it's mentioned, or, in my practical experience I've seen, see, sometimes now the aspiration part, let's talk of, okay. Just because if somebody saw the actress Alia Bhatt's mehndi pattern and all, they are probably available. The cheap knockoffs of her wedding dresses are available. So that's another segment that has gone through, okay, which has, probably we say bypassed, and people have been innovative enough. And the fastest way to come through is on the social media. Okay, Amazon is another marketplace that has, connected with a lot of things. And the best example is that when you have the amount of people getting onto the social media, getting on into the digital, this thing, getting the smartphones, telecom is another big revolution happening. Apart from the normal phone now, see the amount of the 5G and, that penetration happening. So probably when we say digital first, now here I would look at it this way, and as Manish bhai mentioned about suppose India, that the AI part of it, I would say, like, mine is a field of, let's say, in the risk management or finance part of it and all. It is not possible for me. I can buy digitally, let us say, a health insurance policy. But tomorrow, if I'm sick, I would hate my family member to call a toll-free number and do that. So what I'm saying is, or people say a doctor who is, or let's say a X-ray specialist who knows how to use AI will be better off than someone who is not using AI. So maybe I'm not giving you the answer to the digital first angle, but probably somewhere down the line, certain areas there will be which will be only digital. Certain things can be can work on digital. Certain things you need to add that value and enhance that value, simplify, like emotions and on certain things make a lot of difference when you counsel, consult, and then you use the tools of digital to go through that. Now, as it comes to say apparels, the young generations don't mind ordering online. They don't like it, they send it back. But for a person like me, unless I touch and feel and get it, so there are some rigidities happening, but there's market for everything. So I feel that there's a marketplace for all these avenues, but each one has to find a niche for it and see, and again, observe, see how the things standardized out.
No, very well put across, Rajesh bhai. And let me share some thoughts that I have also come across when I was been dealing with some of these entrepreneurs who started with digital first. And I think it was, if you were to really look at this whole market right now, so there's a cost of making a product, that is one, which you have your own product and everything. There's a cost of branding the product, and then there's a cost of distributing the product. Now, as far as the distribution is concerned, and that this is where this debate is, whether this should be a digital first or whether this should be a GT or an MT led, which is general trade or modern trade led. Now, what's happening over here is there's a big share being taken by the modern trade. So, for example, so let's say a 100 rupee product which someone buys from the shop, there's a 20 rupee retail margin which the retailer keeps for himself. So effectively, the customer or the company is getting 80. But in fact, there's also some more layers of wholesalers and stockists and CNF agents. So effectively, what the company gets in the hand is around 65 to 70 rupees. And then on that, they have to make margins on the products with labor and cost of production and their own corporate costs and everything. So what they're trying to do through digital first is, can they take away or capture that 35%, which is being distributed in the market? So that is how the genesis of digital first started, and its scalability also. But now the problem is that companies like Amazon, companies like Nykaa, companies like, which are the marketplaces, they charge the same amount of money and maybe more. And the marketing also comes into picture where it becomes very expensive. What my experience in the interaction with these entrepreneurs is that you can scale a digital first brand to a certain level. You can go up to 100 crores of sales, you can go up to 200 crores of sales, or maybe 300 crores of sales, and maybe 500 crores of sales. But beyond that, for you to scale beyond that, and which was the original hypothesis that with digital you can scale infinitely, that's not the case actually. You need to have a good mix of online and offline, and which is why we have seen a lot of these digital first brands pivot into offline as well. So Mama Earth, for example, is now available on the stores also. Nykaa, which was an only a digital platform, they have open stores for that touch and exactly the experience that you were talking about, Rajesh bhai, touch and feel. And that I think, and the economics are whatever they are. So I think, frankly, I think, and if, when I look at it from an investment banking standpoint, we've seen a lot of consolidation happening. Companies who are not able to pivot into offline will get, acquired by companies which are offline, right? Or if companies are really big, on digital, they will be acquiring offline presence. But omni-channel is something that has to exist over a period of time. So I think that I think is the.
Yeah, sure. If I may add, there's one line which I somehow like it. They say high tech is good, but high touch is better. It may be in probably in the services of a financial services. I mean, when you see a person, see today, thanks to COVID, it went on to Zoom and everything like this. But still today, if I'm having my first client meet, I don't mind. I'll take the trouble of, going, even if it is traveling out of Goa or something like that. I'll meet face to face. That creates a better bonding and we see it happening. So probably it's like It's like how even the youngsters, first they want digital. I've seen in my 10-year span in the last 30 years, but the last 10 years, as recently during the COVID times, they will start off on their own, somewhere burn their fingers. They realize that, yes, this is something that I think I needed, even for a legal or for anything, you can't Google it and check out what's right, what's wrong until you get the hang of it, understand the psyche of it, the psychology of it, and then take it over. I mean, this is what I know when you talk to the customer and once they know you, they trust you, then I think that doesn't matter that I can get online cheaper. See, today when you look at whether it is financial products, whether it is this, it is on trust. See, if Bhavesh, by tomorrow, I know you, I've met you, and I'm happy with what you do, doesn't matter. We are not here to compete with Mother Teresa. What I mean is that, we are here to earn money. We want to make it through our hard work and earn a fair share of it properly.
So there are basically two types of products and services. One is where you need an advisor or knowledge and information, and another where you don't. Like people are doing online shopping for their clothes, so they don't need an advice. They are aware about it, and where products are very much standardized. Now, Rajesh, we are from the finance industry. If you see the number of demat accounts opened or the brokers who have garnered a majority share, of the new generation, it's been Zerodha, Grow, Upstocks, Angel One, who are. So I would feel 99% of the accounts are opened by these people. Take another example of fintech, buy now, pay later. The way it is growing, the base is small, but the way it is growing, like you said, you mentioned about Amazon, Flipkart, you go and buy, and they will ask you whether you need an EMI. So it's a fintechs, and within half an hour, they will decide whether to give you a loan. If one XYZ is not willing to give you a loan, another ABC would be willing to give you a loan. So on the digital, the cost of distribution, as Bhavesh bhai mentioned, is very critical. The pricing, like the brokerage charges, in the broking industry used to be like 1.5%, 2%, which has now come down to 5 paise or so. And everything of this has happened because of the digital only. So some of the businesses are really going totally digital, direct to the customer, totally digital, because over there the distribution cost is much more important and it's getting commoditized. But yes, when it comes to medicine or legal advice, as you said, it would not be right to Google and do it. These are all specialized fields. Specialized fields definitely will need human intervention. We would be making a mistake of doing it yourself DIY, but many youngsters today are educated. They know which stocks to buy. They would prefer to go online and do it yourself. So there would be a distinction. Where should you go in DIY and where you should not is very crucial, from the decision making point of view.
Sure, I've been told that there is a raise of hand, and I will encourage that discussion to continue. But in the meantime, I also got some opinions on the same topic. Again, from the questioner himself, Dr. Samir, what I think obviously sharing is that digital first mindset gives opportunity to young entrepreneurs to try out new products, new markets, and gives access to Gen Z Instagram audiences, which is, I think, is a superb and very valid point. It's a kind of a first touch point for the budding entrepreneurs for their ideas. And I think Chirag also has mentioned that one of the important examples of a small, I think is going back to the book, is in the finance industry is micro pensions, and it has grown in a big way in Kenya amongst informal workers. So I would, I would think there was a raise of hand. Can I ask Jai Bhai to kind of, introduce and get that participation in, please? Yes, Vijay Bhai. You may speak, Vijay Bhai.
Whichever we are going to access.
I think till he comes, I think I know what he's wanting to say here. Vijay Bhai is wanting to say that he would like to add that depending upon your market segment, one should penetrate the market first and then move to other platform next. If your potential segment is more young and spends more time in front of laptops, you can think about e-com and digital marketing. And if your products and services are for elders, housewives first, then you do offline first and then you move to online. I think that's a very, very valid business type approach. जहाँ बिकता है वहाँ पे बेचना चाहिए. So that's a fantastic approach on that. So thanks for that. One more question I had for you, Rajesh bhai, and for the fellow panelists and others if they want to chime in, is also around the example of DMart. You know how DMart has been able to bring about a significant amount of change in retail industry, and we all know about the potential which Future Group unleashed in the market. Fantastic thought process, fantastic execution, but I think it all boiled down to finances at the end of the day, right? I think the finances they had to I think they had to overcapitalize, take some debt, and which kind of resulted in this. And then we have DMart here, who was able to kind of completely change the model of owning the real estate to begin with, and that with Radhakrishna Damani being able to do that, coming up with stores where in no man's land. I mean, I'm sure we all have seen stores whenever you're going for some holiday traveling, and suddenly in some village you will see a massive big DMart store. And that's the vision that the team has been taking to kind of identify which are the pockets which will grow bigger. But more than real estate and owning the asset, I think what they have also been able to do is identify the SKUs which are selling the most. So out of 100 SKUs which a household needs, which are the top 20 or top 25 that they will definitely need and buy maybe every month or maybe twice a month, and then just go overboard on that, increase volumes, negotiate hard with the companies who are manufacturing that, including multinationals, get very big discounts on that and sell that at a discount to the end consumer, while making significant amount of profit on that. And then there's no real estate cost, so then it adds to there's no rental, so it adds to the whole model. And I have seen queues. If it is a first Saturday or a Sunday of the month, basically people have got their salaries and they want to fill up their groceries for the month. I have seen queues which have gone up to almost 300 meters or 400 meters for people to get into that store. And that's again, I think, going back to the small in the big opportunity. I think that's what he has been able to capitalize on very significantly, Rajesh bhai.
Absolutely. If I take the clock a little back earlier, those who remember there was similar to DMart years ago, probably in South India, if you heard of the name Subiksha. Subiksha stores. And then, they expanded left, right, center, because, for a lady, even if the wheat is 2 rupees or rice is 2 rupees less per kilo, little bit far away, she'll still go there and buy. And they used to negotiate and, at a very low. But what went wrong over there, I think, is all the properties were on rent. And when the cyclicals, it came, a little downturn came, or the rents increased, and whatever things were there, they went out of business and they went bankrupt. And in the case of DMart, I think one very good thing is that whichever store was set up, it was a little far away because the property value would be less, but it was ownership. And then that gave a lot of strength. So if you look at it that way, these planning and all make a lot of sense. And today also, as people are getting a little better off, how it happens in the US and all, people buy their whole week's shopping, or whole month's shopping. If you say they drive around, keep it in the car, they have the vehicles, or they buy in large quantities, and like how in the US is Costco. So all those effects are also coming here. So if I buy, even if I want 1 cake of soap, I might buy 5 cakes of soap and get it at a little bit cheaper rate. So this is, I think, and again, understanding the market and looking at the desire of the people, consumerism is happening. So again, related to the book also, mega consumerism is happening. It depends on who will tap. So there are some people, unfortunately, who've not gauged it, not understood it, not followed it, as well as those who can. And we should always have plan A, plan B, plan C. I don't know if you noticed, suddenly I'm on my iPhone talking to you because on a Sunday in my office, sometimes there is some work takes place and there was a power failure. So I didn't want to take, so what I did is I had my backup plan, I had with the laptop. So like that, we need to have our own ways of looking at it. If plan A doesn't work, so that this is digital and physical, that phygital, that word has also come in. So each one, and again, we have to see on our own. Maybe some profession can easily go into, like going for a movie. Who will think of now standing in the queue and all? For me, it's just the app, whether it is the Inox in Goa or a PVR or something. I'll book it and I'll walk into it. That might work on that basis.
Rajesh, the statement which you made that probably the rich are not that rich and the poor are not that poor.
Yeah, that was there in the book, correct.
And along with that, there are quite a number of, don't feel that all the rich people are in urban only.
Yes, true. That is
So
also another thing she mentioned.
Yes, so taking the examples of our mutual fund business, today a large part of growth is now coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The money flowing in from cities like Mumbai and Delhi is slowing down because of the high cost of living probably, but there is enough money being made in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and see the growth in the mutual fund collections. It's coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Absolutely.
If somebody is avoiding those areas, then they are missing out on the growth. You can't just focus on the urban areas only. Bharat is coming up in a very, very big way. If we divide between India and Bharat, the strength of Bharat, we are probably from the sitting in urban areas, we are not understanding. And probably this is the book which is trying to tell you the power of Bharat, the Lilliput land. Don't miss out on that.
True.
I think there are some more very good points being raised by Vijay Bhai. Vijay Bhai, would you want to speak or have those notes? I can talk about it.
I would like
Yes.
to speak, but can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You can
hear
put
me?
your video also on. Then we'll be able to see you.
Yeah. Okay, let me check. Yeah.
Just to talk something about Vijay Bhai is, I think since I know him, he has always been a member of KCF. He would be one of the first ones to renew his membership and would attend almost all the programs. Yeah, Vijay Bhai, please go on.
Yeah. See, like Mukesh
Your voice is
Bhai
cracking.
said, like tier 2 and tier 3. I would like to now share one. Yeah. Okay. I would like to say that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, now what has happened? Like we had ordered some bhel puri in office, and the pasty that he was using was from Tata Click. So all the bills that were coming, like when we were seeing that thing, most of the orders were from Northeast or Orissa, and every order of purse and the designer items are above 1.5 lakh rupees. So we were surprised, like when we see that, we know that other towns also, not only in metros.
Yeah, Vijay Bhai, your voice is cracking a bit, but I think there's some very good points that you raised and which I have the notes on. Is that I think as he's quoting that as Mr. Kenya was saying that we don't have participation in innovation, and he would like to add that most of us are just selling the product and are not thinking about support and post sales point. We need to think from user experience point of view and after sales support channel and UX based product design. And I think that's a very important point you touched upon, Vijay Bhai. And I think increasingly in the market, what we're seeing is uh, customers are not coming for products per se, they're coming now for experiences. So
Absolutely.
if you're selling pure product, you're just like a me too product. You may get success, you may not get success, but most likely you'll not get success. But I think the increasingly, I think it's more towards experience, so be it a Starbucks, for example. So Starbucks, consuming a Starbucks is not the coffee itself, the entire experience of the ambience. You sit around, you get that. I think that is why they're doing very well. And I think the other point which has been raised by Vijay Bhai is a major part of consumer insights. And I think this is one of the important points, Rajesh Bhai, you had mentioned from the book also, that understanding consumer behavior. And I think as businesses, there has to be a constant monitoring and understanding of what the consumer behavior is. And which I think Vijay Bhai is highlighting is that, major part of consumer insights are easily available from your salesman conversations with retailers and customers, online reviews. You have one choice of kind of hearing them, but other choice of you is to listening to them and adapting to those changes. And that can possibly kind of help your business. We have one more raised hand, Mr. Devan by Chheda. So if I can ask Jay Bhai to kind of enable him to speak or put his points across. Yes, Devan Bhai, you're live, you can go ahead.
Then we are unmuted you. You can speak.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great insight session, but just wanted to add up to this whole discussion is, I mean, we are the, kind of entrepreneur in a business. I mean, we come as a community has started a business from, 2 or 3 generation below my generation and, started the whole empire kind of stuff. However, I see, today's world, as you said, you need to know all the marketing channels and everywhere. So IT is the one which is, the key thing which one need to think of when you are kind of dreaming big or go to direct to consumer kind of stuff, because that's the point where you need to have all the consumer dynamics, right, or customer dynamics, and then tap those changes which is happening in their world, and make your product or redefine your product or bring new product kind of stuff. So just wanted to add, when somebody is thinking going all this direct kind of stuff, just think of there are a lot of solution available in nowadays. Public clouds are there. So I just wanted to give a heads up to that thought process, that one should also look forward to IT to get into this space.
Thank you, Deven Bhai, for pitching in for the information of everybody. He is a part of our technology committee, and exactly the idea of technology committee is what Deven Bhai talked about, how KCF can help you guide, pick up the right IT solutions for growing your business. So Deven Bhai, we are waiting for a plan of action from your committee.
So today, what happens that if you are selling just products, you may earn, you may not earn. But the moment you start saying that you are selling solutions, because people want solutions, products are available everywhere.
Absolutely.
The moment you talk about solutions,
I have, I think, one more observation coming in from Dr. Samir Karkhan is that there are very big opportunity areas that are driving business. One is community commerce. The second is referral marketing, and the third is the role of influencers marketing. And I think I have just one last question before we try to wrap up this session. And I think, again, going back to your point from the book, Rajesh Bhai, is the God is in the details, right? Now, frankly, I'm not sure if this is the experience that we've been having across, but there are people who go into detail, and this is also a question for Advocate Manish Kenya, that the people who will go into detail, people who don't go into detail. And I'm looking at these trends of new generation, that the tolerance level, the patience levels are just, there's an instant gratification that the young generation wants. So the patience to go into details is depleting. And you're from the legal side, Manish bhai, and that is where the detail really, really, really counts the most. What's your thought process around this? What's your overall observation and guidance around how does one inculcate more disciplined process of going into details going forward?
See, if we look at the companies who are there since maybe 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, 150 years, there are companies in the world. And when you see their base, all have started with detailing and mainly compliance with the legalities of the land. And today's innovators or the new companies, when they go for funding and when that they get the fund, majority of the funds are being used for what purpose? They may be asking the fund for one thing and they may be using the fund for something else. So they are not going, first of all, planning into what and where they are going to utilize. So that is the detailing, each and everything, and what are the returns. And doing that, are they entering into a proper documentation with whomsoever they are dealing with? I know certain innovators who have invented good thing, but those innovators ultimately they got venture capitalists, they funded their company. Now, innovators are passionate people. They are only about whatever their innovation. But then the lack of agreements or lack of proper documentation, they lost their innovation to the people who have invested in.
One more thing I would like to add, Bhavesh bhai, after what Mukesh bhai and mentioned about that, rich are not so rich and poor are not so poor. And again, in that classes of that DMart and all you mentioned, there's one part of the book, because it's too lengthy. She talks of, within the people, there are various culture classes, homogeneous groups that exist within the consumer India. So now she'll give some 4-5 examples. I'll just highlight IIT, IM culture class. This is a certain set of people. So for a marketeer, it could be this kind of a people. Basically, it's a shorthand label for a kind of a person from a certain kind of milieu who's a part of a certain kind of a social and cultural group of the elite. Then there is the rich, big business families from specific communities. Now, in those communities, if they want, like say, for example, events, if there are weddings in a particular community, there's no questions asked. It has to be this thing. And the startup community, then she talks of techies, IT and IT enabled service workers, the service and business culture classes, the middle majority service class of Indians, Indian small business class, the working women in the top 60% of the income pyramid. Now, and the own account workers. Own account workers are a huge, a meta culture class, which we call them. Like, there could be a maid, there could be, they a watchman. So they have their, basically, you can't call them as a salaried at the same time, they have their own segment. And now talking of marriage, it just struck me one more thing, an interpretation, if I may add, not about the book review. It's my version, and correct me if you're wrong or whatever, whichever happens. Mukesh Ambani's son's pre-wedding. Who came? Mark Zuckerberg's wife, Bill Gates, and Disney CEO. My interpretation, why they all came. One way, they look, each one of them wants the population. If Reliance has 26 crore customers, Bill Gates may want to sell his software to all the Kirana shops or whatever for his this thing. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta, he wants again the customer base. Disney has got that entertainment angle. And maybe in a lighter vein, if Mrs. Neeta Ambani sits with Mark Zuckerberg's wife, who's a doctor from Stanford, and she says, hey, you know what? Our Kokilaben hospital is here and you have something there. Can we have a tie-up? I mean, I'm just looking at it that, it's just as a business mindset. And we look at it. So India is getting attracted to these things. So this was my 2 bits apart from the book, which I wanted to share. Yeah.
So they just added one more distribution level. One is the GTMT, one is the e-commerce, and now it is Mukesh Bhai.
And our own Mukesh Bhai.
Yeah, and now our Mukesh Bhai. So over to Mukesh Bhai. Mukesh Bhai, I think this was a very encouraging and a very enriching session, I would think, and for the first one. And I would end by saying, I mean, before I come to the word of thanks, etc. But not every reader is a leader, but every leader has to be a reader. So I think with that note, I think this session has come out very well. I would hand over to Mukesh Bhai. There's a announcement that he has to make, and then we'll kind of wind up the session thereafter.
The last thing that Rajesh talked about Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and all, it touched upon something called networking.
Yeah.
And this year, we have changed the name of the committee of membership committee to membership and networking. I think the biggest benefit of joining KCF, and somewhere I have in mind that we need to have some performance parameter that as members and more than members, the committee members, how do you measure your growth being a part of the KCF? I think that is very, very crucial. Just doing some programs and providing some entertainment is not enough. This is not the goal and motto of KCF. So we need to give those benefits of networking to our members. And towards that, on 1st of May, everybody would have received the messages also. We are having a networking program amongst our members. So we have Mr. Kunal Veera from the board game who is going to play games. We need to interact with each other and see whether we can create business amongst our members. So on 1st of May, 7 to 10 p.m. Yogi ground floor, everybody is invited. I did not invite, it is like, I want everybody to say, Mera KCF. It's your KCF. So where is the question of me inviting? It's only that I am the president. It's your program. You have to be there, interact with each other. Try to be there by 6:30. 6:30 to 7, we'll have some light refreshments. And then we'll start playing games and then we have dinner. So we are going to lay focus on networking benefits this year. So looking forward to everybody being there. And I'm glad to announce that we have reached a membership head count of almost 300. Never had KCF had such, renewals or new registrations in such a short period of time. This is really, really overwhelming, and I take this opportunity to thank everybody. Thank you. Over to you, Bhavesh.
Thank you, Mukesh Bhai, and compliments to the entire KCF to achieve these new heights. But I think first and foremost, I would want to kind of highlight how this session has kicked off a very enriching and knowledgeable kind of forum platform for all of us today. I would want to extend a very, very, very sincere thanks to Rajesh Bhai, who has taken such effort and given so much time and effort on bringing this up for us, putting this all together in a very nice and lucid and succinct manner, which encourages us to read the book. And frankly, without reading the book, we got a gist of it also. So thank you so much, Rajesh Bhai, for that. And I think as this session has also kicked off, I would like to thank the KCF and everybody involved in this, including Boomerang, Vivek Bhai Thakkar for managing the event, Jai Bhai Thakkar to kind of, give us a tech support around this. And I think, as they say in a book reading, that people don't call this is the most TV watched person. or most Instagrammed user person, but they say that this is a well-read person because the book opens up the minds, it opens up new horizons, it increases your knowledge base. So I think this is a very good start of from Rajesh Bhai on this, and we hope to see more of you, Rajesh Bhai, with more books reviews going forward. You know, as we bring this close to this inaugural meeting, let us carry forward this spirit of camaraderie and curiosity and exploration that has defined our gathering today. And thank you once again. And here's more to more enlightening discussions and memorable moments in the chapter of life that will lie ahead for us. Thank you
So,
so much.
Bhavesh, just to interrupt, we plan to have 12 book reviews in next 1 year. So one every month. And I would request everyone or anybody can come forward if you want to do some book review yourself, or you have some suggestions on good books where we could all benefit. So KCF, as we say, is a knowledge platform. We will be striving to increase our knowledge levels. So looking forward for 12 book reviews in the next year. So if you want any of your friends, relatives to become a member, this is just the start. Please tell them that you are going to miss this, and our programs are going to be only for members. So take the opportunity. Thank you, Bhavesh bhai. And no need of thanking KCF. We are KCF. KCF is not an organization, it's a family. So we all are, we are KCF.
Absolutely. And I think commendable to all that we are bang on time. It's 12 and absolutely start to finish we're on time. So thanks once again to all and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Good day.
Thank you.
Bye. Good day.
Bye.